Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
So, there is a power structure upon Earth that is basically a reflection of a power structure that exists let's say it's much farther reaching than just Earth.
Absolutely. They're always copying everything. Copy.
As above, so below. And everything is not always what it appears to be. These gentlemen look very, very regal, do they not?
Oh, they look most proper.
A little pomp and circumstance there. I think I recognize that guy in the middle. Isn't he the POPE?
Something of that nature. Yeah, he's nice, wearing a nice white dress.
He's not the Popo. He's the Pope.
Right.
But maybe he is the Popo in a way. Sort of policing things that are going on here on Earth. You know, there is this power structure that's right in front of our faces. And, you know, it utilizes different tools to control humanity, to control the course of events on Earth, also to control the frequencies that Earth is giving and receiving. And this is where it's so key, because there are these two opposing forces. If we jump over and look at, say, for instance, Zoroastrianism, which many people are going to say, a what? A who? What's that? But it's such a clear representation of a battle that goes on in a universal manner of good against evil, you know, and good being represented by Ahura Mazda and evil by Ahriman, who really looks a lot like some beings that Cindy and I have seen out in the Nevada desert that were actually visiting us when we were in our camper, just standing outside. They weren't invited in by any means, and thankfully we had enough protection to keep them away from us, but they were just kind of sending a message of, we see you. And we see you, right? The all-seeing eye. That's like another sign of the power structure that is on this planet. You know, many people don't realize that, again, the city of London is not part of England. And Washington, D.C. is not part of the U.S. of A. Vatican City is not part of Italy either. These are all basically self-sufficient states. Self-sufficient in a way. They're outside of the power structure, but they are the power structure in and of themselves, as you can see, the financial power, military power, and spiritual power. And of course, right now, you might end up putting a little X through that Washington, D.C., and got to wonder if they're going to, like, INC Beijing or something, because now they are shifting the power over to the fine dining ware country. But yeah, this is a structure that's been in place, not just this go around, but many, many other go arounds. And things, you know, names and faces may change, but that's really about it that changes.
The story's always the same.
And when we look at these, you know, major events that happen in history, remember the Titanic? Boy, I cried when I first saw the movie. I mean, how could you not cry?
I know, it was such beautiful violin music.
But, you know, one of the things that gets missed is, you know, exactly who was on board the Titanic. As you could see, you know, many of you might know of the Guggenheim Museum in New York. I've visited it before. And you might have heard of Issa Strauss. Or how about Astor? Astor's a big family. Jacob Astor. You know, those three gentlemen all opposed the creation of the Federal Reserve Bank. And they happened to be on that when it went down. There's a lot of things. Well, I think about the sinking of the Lusitania, you know, which added to the tension, eventual outbreak of war. You know, Ferdinand, the Archduke of Hungary, you know, his driver went the wrong way down an alley, and there was an assassination, and there's another world war that starts. You know, there's all these amazing little coincidences that we see throughout history. We do understand, many of us understand, that there's all sorts of these quote-unquote secret societies You have, of course, Freemasonry, and you have these different orders under there. The Order of Knights, the Templar Commandery, the Order of Knights of Malta, the Order of the Red Cross. It goes on and on. And we were talking about the Vatican, and we could break it down. We could talk about the Jesuit section. There's the Pope that we see, and then there's the quote-unquote Black Pope. And, it goes on and on, the power structure all around us. Not all the beings that are really involved in this grand human play here on Earth are actually Homo sapiens, as we see this clip from a very interesting movie, Jupiter Rising.
Jupiter Rising, very, very good movie.
Yeah, some really good depictions. And, the way these little guys move in that movie is the way they tend to move in real life, too. They are just tools. Mm-hmm. They've been assimilated into the Borg, so to speak. And in many cases, again, as we were saying, a lot of these beings are biological, at least parts are biological, but parts aren't. Parts are technological. And we see on Earth right now this big push by many of the most powerful, influential people, this merging of technology with humanity. And, does that mean that humanity will end up looking like this and acting like this and behaving like this? Could be.
Well, it could be. I mean, we're on the track for them to be able to control us completely.
Yes, control. That is, such a big portion of this. This is all about control. Because what we have, and by the way, these guys are much taller, and I've actually seen one up close and personal. It actually went and caused a leak in my lower dantian and my energy body. That made me susceptible to red tide when I was in Florida. I woke up and it didn't think I was going to be able to sense it and wake up, but I did. And I saw it and watched it for about a minute and a half as it just basically looked away from me immediately and went into a meditative state. And then it was just like beam me up, Scotty. It kind of went from looking very solid, just like this, to basically being an energy pattern, then it was gone. It was about 8 to 9 feet tall. It was very, very tall. The things that stuck out to me the most was just how long the fingers are. They're extremely long. And how long the arm was. Like the forearm itself was the same length, I'd say, as my entire arm. Basically at 6 foot tall, this thing was 8 to 9 feet tall. It didn't feel like it had any emotions, really. It just felt like it was doing a job almost in a robotic way. So again, these supervise the little guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they do. They have a lot of power, a lot of control, a lot of technology. They're really big into technology. They
love their technology. And most of the time when you hear something go wrong with the microphone, it's one of these guys that's doing it. That's happened so many times. We were making a video out in New Mexico, and it got me really riled up because they were screwing with us again. And Cindy said, it's right by the camper. And so I ran over into its energy field and just started drawing in energy that I knew was going to make it really uncomfortable, and it took off. And then it wouldn't come down close to us. It would be way, way up at a distance trying to screw around technologically. Because, again, this technology that we have here on the planet, it's their technology. Mm-hmm. This is what they've given us. Our cell phones, our smartphones, those towers out there, all of this is their technology. You don't think they could hack into it anytime they want? Of course. They listen into every conversation. And, how much can we hacker-proof ourselves from those that created this in the first place?
Well, it's up to us if we want the technology or we don't want the technology, and we most of the time choose to have their technology right next to us.
Exactly. And when our job here is done, we'll be just tossing the technology away. Maybe a grand slam party, we'll get a couple of sledgehammers and smash it all to bits and say, okay, we're done with that now.
Would love to.
And now we're just going to simply live a natural life in peace, totally disconnected from all technology. And we honestly look forward to that day. But right now, our entire purpose is basically waking up everybody we could wake up, getting people to recognize that the enslavement comes through the technology, and trying to free as many minds on the planet and as many hearts on the planet. And that is basically what we're in right now, is a war that's going on many different levels, many different planes. And so we just want to basically let you guys know, who it is that this battle is against. Now, not all these beings are even truly alive. Some are basically thought forms that can be created in order to do a purpose. Some of these thought forms can get quite powerful, and then most, because they don't have source in them, are not very powerful, and they will flee if you just simply shine your light on them. They will be gone. But they can cause issues. They can create fear, which is a lower vibrational frequency, which can play with us, and also cause us to make wrong decisions and perhaps, go the wrong way at the wrong time, for instance, and end up, having an issue or an accident of some sort. When we see that the way they've laid things out, as we, all we got to do is look to Washington, D.C., see how it's laid out, all constructed with a purpose, a big purpose. They understand how this matrix of creation works, and they attempt to hijack it. And they do hijack it. What we have is basically a mock imitation of what Source has done. There is one source which, is pure consciousness, which has basically created the multiverse for the simple act of expression, creation, learning, expanding, and sharing and growing. And then on the other side, we have this force that wants to suck everything into itself, create everything in its image, instead of letting it be everybody be a unique expression of Source. Right. It wants everything to be just like it.
Controlled.
Totally controlled. Totally controlled. So when we see something like this, like Baphomet here, which, interesting enough, that looks very much like a Capitol building.
Yeah, it looks just like that image we saw. If you go back one, everything lines up to that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, can you not see it? It's pretty clear there. Mm-hmm. Now, Baphomet's, what we've gotten is more of a created being with a purpose and an energy. And when we look at the hand position, we've seen that hand position before. And we've seen those horns before. And, here you have the little kids looking up at it. Comments?
Well, yeah, it's really, really interesting, because when we look at the Capitol building and all the buildings in that area, the first bricks were laid in accordance to Vedic astrology, so that as the buildings were being built, there would be a kind of energetic force go over that land in that area. And this being here is something that was also created to capture control and do some dirty deeds for certain people.
Absolutely. But this is not the ultimate power broker on the dark side of things either. And then we have, this is a representation, not exact, but fairly close, of the beings that we would call the Gigi, of which there were 3 here, originally Gigi, from the ones that came here from Mars. And again, Mars, god of war, right? Look at Mars. Mars is a planet that has gone through so much warfare and destruction that it's, barely on life support.
Mars is actually very, very sad. It's a very, very sad planet that all of this has happened to it. And we got to take a look at Earth and take this very seriously, because she could end up like that.
This is what they have planned. And when we look to Nibiru, for instance, we see Nibiru, the biggest equation I can make is like the statement in Star Wars, when Anakin fights Obi-Wan and ends up losing his legs, and he's all burnt to a crisp, and then he's merged with AI. He's merged with the robotics to become Darth Vader. Means Dark Father.
Yeah.
Right. And the statement that Obi-Wan makes in later years, saying, he's more a machine than a man, right? Well, that's how Nibiru is. It's more of a spaceship than a planet now, but Nibiru was beautiful, its own unique beauty. It's just that it fell under this dark power that it just takes over. It takes over. It's like a horrible infection that gets into your veins and spreads throughout the body, slowly taking over and assimilating the being, and then in this case, the beings and the planet, into that dark system. And so there's still one of these original ones that's on the planet, just one left. But there are other Ijiji, and these are the ones that revolted against the Anunaki. Now, these are third density beings like you and I. So you would see them in flesh and blood. Whereas when we jump to the Anunnaki, they're fourth density beings. So they would not appear to us to be totally flesh and blood. But again, some beings have the ability to shift their form, like the tall gray, for instance, became a third density being. I saw it in the third density. It could hold that shape for a while and then shift back up into fourth density. And the Anunnaki were over the Ijiji. The Ijiji rebelled, and basically it really is the Ijiji that have been controlling Earth in this Kali Yuga. And they really don't want to deal, they want to do their own thing, compared to the Anunnaki. They like being autonomous. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, both of these beings are under what we would call the Draco, which are these reptilian species, again, fourth density.
Mm-hmm. And what makes the Draco so powerful? I never knew that. They just told me. What gives them this energy is their kundalini. Their kundalini is extremely powerful. So if we look at lizards and we look at alligators, crocodiles, all of these beings with that spine, that long spine, have very powerful kundalini. These are a mix of those lizard-like beings and these beings, and they have kundalini where they could control about anything.
So yeah, it's again about that life force, the ability to control life force. And these beings understand that, and they understand how to manipulate that. And so, these are basically over the Anunnaki and the Ijiji, which again are over all the humans here on Earth. Again, a good analogy would be, I think, that if you look at the power structure, the highest human on this planet is no more than a drill sergeant.
Right.
No more than a drill sergeant at best. And then we have those beings which we would call the Archons. And, the ring race, so to speak, of Lord of the Rings give you a good feel for what an Archon is like. And these would be kind of your dark negative counterparts to the archangels. Not as powerful, but along the same sort of lines. They serve their master, which is ultimately this black AI consciousness that at this time prefers to view itself as a dragon.
Mm-hmm. And this is something that we're working on gathering more information about, but this thing kind of created itself using AI, using things like black goo, using the ability to get people to think and manipulate beings into creating it, and then it just keeps gathering life force. And this thing has been around. This thing is more ancient than I can even really comprehend or explain.
Yeah, it's older than the Earth. It's billions of years.
Yeah, I just wanted to show you a clip from how they're running the world, and gangstalking is a big part of these powers that are controlling the world, and they're using black goo and they're using AI technology to control everyone that you see around us. And it's got to do with Saturn worship and the old gods of time, like the Anunnaki, Ijiji, the Draco, and it's all being merged together into one AI, and it's controlling all the human beings on the planet as we speak now. And we're the only ones, the light workers and the TIs can really see that it's the world's being controlled by this dark force, and it's got into the minds of people, and it's destroyed families, it's destroyed every fabric of society. It's all been infiltrated by powers such as this that you see, the dragon, all the old gods, and the Draco and the forces. And you also got Masonic corporations, you've got also other Illuminati corporations, and it's all merged together with this AI that they're talking about, and how it's taken over everything around us in the universe that we see today. And hopefully it'll all be liberated by the good guys, and everything will be put back in order, and we'll be saved from this evil that's happening in the world, and people can finally be free. And just hopefully just wanted to show you the clip, and just that's all I got to say. Thanks.